Hello, everybody. Happy Monday. It is pretty gray out today here, but I'm very excited because we have somebody I'm personally so excited to talk to today. I was just on a podcast talking for an hour, so whew. I hope everybody's good. I hope everybody had a good weekend. So we have Gina Newton coming in today. She is a mind and body coach. She is a personal trainer. She's a yoga teacher. She's a mother. She is an all-around just like powerful person. So I'm super excited, and I've personally worked with Gina, so really glad to talk to her today. If you have any questions, obviously leave them below in the comments. This video is going to go up onto Gina's profile as well. So if you want to get in touch with Gina, you can go to freshstartsregistry.com, click on experts, and look for Gina Newton. She is under there. So definitely let us know if you are interested in talking to Gina. But today we're going to be talking about how you can heal your body by healing your mind, and the connection between mind and body, and how Gina helps her clients do that. So when Gina comes on in 1 minute, we will talk about that, and it's a pretty profound topic. It's very popular right now to talk about because there's a big connection, obviously, between mind and body. So super excited to have Gina on today to talk about that. We'll wait for her to come on and for Instagram to tell everybody that we are doing a live, because Instagram has been pretty crappy about that lately. There's Gina. Yay. Okay, let's get Gina on here. Let's see here. I'll invite.
Hello.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Is my sound coming through okay?
You're good. You're all good.
Perfect. Well,
yes.
Thank you so much for having me today.
Of course. I was just saying, I was just on a podcast. I had a great podcast interview just before this with another Fresh Starts expert who's launching a podcast and had me on, and it was wonderful, but I've been talking for like an hour, so I took a second. I was like, I'm gonna have some water, I'm gonna ground myself as Gina taught me to do, and then we're gonna chat with Gina. And I'll be honest, like, thinking about meeting this and doing this today was very emotional for me last night. Like, you know, we have worked so intimately with each other, and I could shout your name from every single mountaintop and still not be enough to explain to people like how you changed my life. And so I just, you know, we're not going to cover all of that today. We'll do that when we have our own podcast, but someday. But it's really important for people to understand what you do. And this video is going to live on your Fresh Starts expert page, which we're so excited that's happening now. So when people go check you out, they can actually watch this video and learn everything. So a little bit about Gina. Gina has had many careers and had many hats, right? But she's a mother, she is a wife, she is a healer, she is a trainer, yoga teacher, and also you've worked in the corporate world and all of that. So I'm going to let Gina explain a little bit about what she does, and then we're going to go into how she works with clients, and I'll happy to give feedback about how we worked together. And then definitely let's talk about how people can get in touch with you to work with you today. So, Gina, what do you do? What everything you do?
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining. If you're listening, I'm so happy to have you here. And, you know, I'm so passionate about my mission, and my mission really is, and the title of our live today is Heal Your Mind, Heal Your Body. And so, you know, I'll be honest, I sort of didn't know how I landed in my corporate career, but I did. I have a biology background. I have a health science background. I sort of thought about, you know, a medical school direction. I thought about being a lawyer. And there's all kinds of things tied up in those career paths alone that I could have 10 podcasts or lives about. But ultimately, I spent, and I still am in the pharma industry part-time. So I've been in the pharma industry for over 20 years. And it was sort of a perfect storm. And I would say it was most definitely after the birth of my daughters, who are 8 and 6. So I would say in the last 8 years, it really became apparent to me that something just needed to change, just from becoming a mother alone. And that was because, you know, my life was different because I was focused on wanting to be with them and wanting to raise them. So that was like the first sort of turning point. But then it really got intense when I had my second daughter. My father became quite ill. My father, who I had a sort of tumultuous relationship with all my life, he became quite ill. My mother figure, who was an aunt of mine, she was also quite ill. And now we're talking around 2017. They both passed from what I feel ultimately were both lifestyle and mindset, you know, related illnesses, cardiovascular disease, ovarian cancer. And not long after their passing, I found myself in my own health crisis. I had developed a deep hip pain. I was a runner. And to be honest, I was sort of just running off everything that was going on internally. And, you know, that's what I find with my clients is that, you know, sort of, well, I'm just going to work it off and I'm just going to go take my stress out in a Peloton ride or a long run, which it works. It certainly does work, but it only works for just so long. And so, you know, I was prescribed a very invasive surgery. And I would say that that was, again, another turning point where I said, you know what? I'm gonna work on this from a different perspective. I'm gonna work on how can I heal my body, right? How can I heal my body myself without surgery, without treatment of any sort, which there really wasn't a treatment. It was really just straight to an operating table and it might fix me. And so, you know, what ultimately happened was I stopped running. And I sort of had to face my own things and my own inner wounds. And, you know, what I come to find is the people I encounter, my clients, people who are sort of drawn to me have very parallel paths. And, you know, what sort of the people I work with, they may or may not have childhood trauma. They may or may not have, and to be honest, I think almost every person I've worked with, I can't say inclusively, alcoholism has been sort of a backbone. And another thing is they tend to be high productivity women, you know, always doing, always.
I don't know anything about that.
I know.
I don't know.
No one, either one of us did. But like, you know, always doing, sort of always giving of ourselves to others without taking the time to sort of put the mirror back on ourselves to say, well, what do I need in order to keep going? And that's sort of, I always sort of think about like, you know, how to convey how I support people. And I think lately I've actually been saying, I sort of hold a mirror to you. Okay. That's more of like, you know, visual. But once, you know, someone comes, you know, agrees that they want to pursue work with me, it's all about learning yourself, becoming an observer of yourself from a thought pattern perspective, but also a physical pattern of how, you know, you take care of your body. I just did a lot.
No, it's so true. And I think a lot of what I did with you is like rewriting a lot of narratives, literally rewriting scripts, right? Like, so I just did what was it, the other night I did something and I can't remember. Maybe it was like eating late at night. And like, instead of being like, oh, you know, like you're eating late at night, like you have to stop this. It was like, I had Gina in my head to be like, maybe you were hungry, or maybe you just needed the comfort at that moment, and that's okay. Like, you're not going to do this forever and ever. It's okay to, like, whatever, so like rewriting those scripts. So I know I started working with Gina a lot for my binge eating stuff, and I would say pretty much was healed after our time together, to a large degree. But none of it had to do with
Very
food.
profound, Olivia.
No, I mean, but none of it was with food. I mean, like, we talked about food, and we looked at what I was eating and stuff, but it was all mindset, and it was all the way that I spoke to myself.
And, I think that's a really good segue about, what I'm out to do is I'm in the business of disease prevention. And, I've been in the business of reacting to illness, and my business, Holistic Healing with Gina Marie, is to prevent disease, to prevent physical pain. And I believe it is hugely, hugely driven from the way we talk to ourselves. So, we learned how that inner voice, right? There's a culmination of how it forms, that ego, right? It sort of is a product of how we are raised, what our environment is, and then it's, our own personal journey. And I'm sure if you're listening, you may have a really hard inner critic. And that may really serve you for a long time. My inner critic served me very well for a long time. I was very successful in my corporate career. I was a very successful runner, recreation. But, I was sort of successful because of some of my inner wounds. And we can all collectively be successful. But my point is the body gets tired of that. The body starts to hurt from some of this way that we treat ourselves. And, that is when I start working with someone, and Olivia has gone through this, is, I start by just sort of being like, shadowing doesn't sound so friendly. Like, I more sort of am like your buddy through life, right? So on a given day, you practicing gratitude? Are you moving your body? How and what are you eating? How are you eating? And you mentioned the late night eating. So many women and people in general experience that. And my goal for you is not to judge that, like you said, but to get curious about it. Is well, this is my body's talking to me. What is it telling?
Right. 100%. And I think, I was going to say, for you, you're really, really good at digging into the story, right? So, like, I feel like a lot of what we did together was like, okay, what's the narrative around eating pizza or whatever, right? Okay. And then what's the narrative around that narrative? And it was hard, right? It was not an easy process, but you did such a beautiful job at holding space and holding trauma and allowing for, I'm sure there was plenty of times you knew what I was going to say before I said it, but allowing for me to come to that by myself and come back and say to you, oh, actually I was, it was XYZ or whatever. So I feel like a lot of, it's different than, well, first of all, it's different than therapy. And I think we need to just like say that, because like I have a therapist who I love, but with therapy, you're digging into specific issues at a specific time, right? When you work with Gina, it's real time. And that was something I've never experienced before. Like, I'm very, wary of who I work with for things. And that real-time processing, boy, there's nothing like that. Like, that was like mind-blowing in a lot of ways, because that really gets to the heart of the problem when it's happening, or the issue or whatever. And I think that, like, if you could talk about, maybe this is a good segue into like how you work with clients, and like what does that look like to work with you, because I think there's so many components to it that it's like, I don't want people to be overwhelmed. It's like, what does it look like to work with this person, and is it millions of dollars and blah, blah, blah. So what does that look like if you have somebody that's interested in working with you?
So how I typically start, and right now I'm primarily doing one-on-one coaching because I honestly love it. And I just think that some of what comes up for people is really private and can be really sensitive. And, So when you start working with me, typically I meet with you 3 times a month with 1 week off. So we have 3 60-minute sessions per month. And then we use Voxer, which Olivia and I love Voxer.
Mm-hmm.
An app that, it's a safe way to talk to each other. And often my clients will just, come in and say, hey, I've had a really hard day. I was really hard on myself for this exchange with my family or this incident at work. And, I call myself an intuitive coach. And what that means is when someone's talking to me, it can actually feel things in my body, right? And that sort of helps guide me on, well, what is the real issue, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that day my client is like not feeling enough, like they're not doing enough, they're not feeling enough, they're feeling sort of defeated, or sometimes, I have one person, we talk a lot about her workplace, and we talk all the time, is she's like, well, I'm very anxious going into work. And I sort of connect that to that her body's not in alignment with that environment anymore. And we change, humans evolve. And so, and that's where then it comes, well, I'm scared to make a change, right? I'm scared to make a change. And so then we're talking about fear. We're talking about not enough. We're talking about the inner critic. But my work is so individual, and it is for what the individual has experienced and is experiencing. And then, what I really love doing is, what do you want your life to look like in 6 months?
Yeah, I was just going to say that. Yeah. I feel like you have a lot of women that probably come to you because they're out of alignment, right? And they feel like I know when I came to you, I was like, something's not right? Like I'm struggling against something, but I don't know what it is. I'm running against the wind here, and I want more. Like I want more for my life. And I think, I worked with you during one of the biggest changes in my life of selling my house and that whole empowering process, and really digging into a lot of the past trauma with my marriage and with food and with sexuality and all this stuff. And I don't think there was one thing we didn't talk about over the 5 months. Truly, death, motherhood, everything. But I just don't think, unless you have lived the experience of working with somebody like you, who is there and shows up and checks in as you did, hey, I haven't heard from you today, what's going on, right? You don't know what you're missing in your life to not have that before that, right? It's like, oh, like this is what healing looks like. And I had, truly, like you have helped me change the way I speak to myself in a way that I didn't know was possible. The other day I was laughing. It was like a real like aha moment. I was looking in the mirror and I had like a heat rash from being outside, right? And instead of saying anything negative, the first thing that came out of my mouth was, oh, honey.
Oh, that's so.
And I thought, oh my God, I'm talking to myself like I would talk to my children. And that is not something that I would have done before working with you. And I think that like there's so many women that want so much for themselves and they don't know how to get there. And sometimes they just need somebody to help them between the physical and the mental and the emotional and the psychological and all that.
Yeah, I love that example, Olivia. That's so good. I can't even tell you. And so many women come up to me, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry for, I'm so sorry for making a mistake. And, it's again, coming back to sort of what's ingrained in us is, this need for perfectionism, this need to always be doing. And then when we sort of veer off and like our human bubbles up, we're so sorry. Like I just, and look, this is a work in progress, is sort of like we look in the mirror, our bodies change, and I'm sort of so tired of like not celebrating what the body does. And from my own personal journey, I really believe that I had just been so hard on my body for so long, from like a mental, how I talk to myself perspective, but also from a physical perspective, miles and miles of running, that my body was like, hold out, I'm done.
Yeah.
You need to take care of yourself, and I'm going to sort of stop you in your tracks. And I'm hearing this from other women. And so, that is where I really end up going with a lot of people is, how can you talk to yourself nicer? And to be honest, one of my biggest things for myself, because my clients can be like very armored, very holding that stress in their body. And a couple of practices I've recently introduced and I'm sharing with my clients is, I'm a huge meditation advocate. Even 1 minute a day will benefit your mind. And in doing that, what I've been doing, and I have been encouraging others to do is, as soon as you sit down in meditation, to release anything you're holding on to, any negativity from early in your day or in that week, or any way somebody has hurt you, letting that out of your body. And then a big question I've been asking lately is, how can I be more gentle? How can I be more gentle with myself, with the people around me, and just in general? And that's more of the feminine energy versus the masculine energy. The other thing too is what I see in the people that come to me is there is some physical pain of sorts. So, perhaps it's a shoulder pain, back pain's a big one. And not only can I work with people to sort of, re-engage them in physical working out, but also I say, what energy channel is that connecting to? So shoulder pain is heart chakra, lower pain is root chakra. So, our dear friend Meg O'Neill is my business coach. She's like, you're sort of like a mental and physical energetic witch, which I'm very proud of because I use my intuition, but also there's a lot of energy. There's a lot of energy involved. And, even thinking about, what I have to do today or someone wronged me, you're sort of just bleeding out all this energy. Back to yourself, please.
No, I was going to say also the other thing that I think I would just love for you to talk about before we go is you are have expertise in healing the mother wound. And I don't think people really, maybe you could explain for very briefly what the mother wound is, but then how if you are a woman listening to this that maybe has the mother wound, Gina is definitely the person to go to start healing that, because it impacts everything. So what is the mother wound, Gina?
So the mother wound is a sort of a spiritual term. Someday I'm going to come up with my own one. And it's sort of, there's multi-levels. So there's, the mother wound at an individual level, at a collective level as a woman, at a spiritual level, and then at a, sort of Mother Earth level.
Global,
Yes. So, the mother wound it's any sort of impact or disruption in our own mothering, and whether or not, like, you can think your mother is like the best, she was the best, but our mothers can unknowingly pass different thought narratives, perspectives, just what a woman should do, what a mother should do. We're getting that, through the best of mothers, and it's an thing, but how it shows up is you don't feel enough. You're always sort of overdoing for everybody else and never doing for yourself. You can, the inner critic is loud. You can be really sort of self-critical of your body and your body image. I mean, we could talk for hours about how we view ourselves and our bodies. This is such an important part of the work I do, as well as, and part of the mother wound. But this is how it sort of shows up, and it impacts your relationships and, just the ability to set boundaries. It's a very intricate, deep thing, but yes, this is something near and dear to me. I happen to have a challenging relationship with my own mother, but it really has sort of motivated me to break some of these cycles that the mother wound can produce within myself in order to sort of break the cycle so that, you know, my daughters are not getting some of these stories and narratives and perspectives that the collective has handed down for so long.
So long. And what I love about Gina is that she was very aware, because I worked so closely with her, of my lifestyle and my needs. And so there was really maybe one or two times you suggested something and I would say that's not going to work for my life, and you would say, okay, let's figure out a different plan, right? Whereas like a lot of coaches or whatever may be like, well, this is the plan that's going to work. You know, I had specific things as a solo parent. I couldn't do XYZ, right? And she really was, Gina was so great about, like, you know, strategically planning things that really worked for me in my healing journey, because, you know, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but you only take on so many clients at one time. So, you know, your energy is not so disparate over too many people. But before we end, so Gina, if people do want to work with you on one-on-one, what's the best way to get in touch with you? Where can they find you? And I will say this, go follow Gina on TikTok, because she gives so much information. Like, I mean, she's there all the time, like with tons and tons of content and stories and helpful tips. So where can people find you and how can they work with you?
I have to say, I do love TikTok these days, so thank you. TikTok, I'm at intuitive.coach.gina.
Okay.
Here on Instagram at gina.m.newton. And I'm on Facebook as Gina Marie Newton. But you can actually just send me an email, gina@healingwithgina.com. I would love to hear from you. I'm happy to add you to my mailing list. You can actually just go to the link in my profile and get on my mailing list. And if you do, you'll get my 5 tips for healing that part of you that feels like you're going to get in trouble. That is sort of was a thing for me a while back on TikTok, where I just asked a question. I'm like, are you an adult who feels like you're always going to get in trouble? And it like went wild. And so I had some 5 tips in there, and you can get on my mailing list. And I would just love to hear from you if the work lands with you. I want to thank Olivia so wholeheartedly for not only trusting me with her own healing journey, but for having me on today. And I'm just really proud to be part of Fresh Starts.
Oh, thank you, Gina. And I was going to say one more thing too. Now I can't remember it, of course. Oh, that Gina occasionally offers free, like, you know, like check-ins with people to just like say hi. I know you do that every couple months. So if you've been, I would recommend definitely following Gina. Follow her on all the platforms. If you are somebody that's ramping up to have your fresh start and considering going through a big life change, follow Gina. Get her free content. Get everything you can from Gina. Once you get on the phone with Gina, there's no turning back. Like, I was like on autopilot. I was like, I have to just keep working with her. And it was honestly really hard for me to not just keep giving you my money every month. So I wholeheartedly, you know, endorse everything that you are doing, but definitely head to registry.com experts. Gina's on that page too. Gina has been in Well and Good. She's been in so many different publications. I can't even, I mean, recent items, there's so much. She has things coming out with Nike, where she's constantly, you know, doing a ton of stuff. So we're just very proud of her, and we're very, very happy she's a Fresh Starts expert. And go follow Gina on Instagram and drop her DM and say hello. And Gina, thank you for everything. And we'll have you back soon to do another, maybe we'll do like a late night chat a little bit longer. And
I love that.
Thank you, Gina.
Talk to you guys soon.